September 11th, 2001, began as an ordinary Tuesday morning in New York City. The sky was brilliant blue. The air was crisp and clear. Millions of people woke up, got dressed, commuted to work, and began their daily routines. By the end of that day, nearly 3,000 of them would be dead. The world would be forever changed, and those who survived would carry scars that would never fully heal. This is the story of one person who was there. Michael Chen, an accountant who worked on the 81st floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. He arrived at work at 8:30 a.m. on September 11th. By 9 a.m., he was fighting for his life in a burning skyscraper. Morning commute, 7:45 a.m. Michael Chen was 34 years old on September 11th, 2001. He lived in Brooklyn with his wife Sarah and their 3-year-old daughter Emma. He worked as a senior accountant for a financial services firm on the 81st floor of One World Trade Center, the North Tower. That Tuesday morning felt like any other. Michael's alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. He showered, dressed in his usual business attire. He kissed Sarah goodbye. He kissed Emma, who was still sleeping. He left the apartment at 7:15 a.m. and took the subway into Manhattan. The subway car was crowded with morning commuters. Everyone looked half awake, clutching coffee cups, reading newspapers. Michael stood near the door, holding the handrail. He thought about the day ahead, a meeting at 9 o'clock, budget reports to review, a conference call in the afternoon. Ordinary work concerns for an ordinary Tuesday. Arrival at the towers, 8:30 a.m. Michael emerged from the subway at the World Trade Center station at 8:25 a.m. He walked through the underground mall beneath the towers. The mall was already busy with people grabbing coffee, buying newspapers, hurrying to their offices. He took the express elevator to the 78th floor sky lobby. From there, he transferred to a local elevator that would take him to 81. The elevator was packed with colleagues and people from other companies. Someone made a joke about the Yankees game. Someone else complained about subway delays. Normal morning conversation. Michael arrived at his office at 8:30 a.m. He walked to his cubicle, set down his briefcase, turned on his computer. The office was filling up with people. Phones were ringing. Coffee machines were brewing. The hum of a normal workday beginning. He checked his email, responded to a few messages. His meeting wasn't until 9 o'clock, so he had time to review the reports he needed to present. Outside his window, the sky was impossibly blue. A perfect September morning at 8:46 a.m., everything changed. 8:46 a.m., the impact. The sound came first, a roar unlike anything Michael had ever heard. The entire building shuddered violently. The floor tilted. Michael was thrown from his chair. Around him, ceiling tiles fell. Lights flickered. Papers flew through the air. People screamed. For a moment, Michael didn't understand what was happening. An earthquake? An explosion? His mind struggled to process the violence of it. The building was still shaking. Alarms were going off. The sprinkler system activated, raining water down on everything. Michael got to his feet. Around him, his co-workers were doing the same. Everyone looked confused and terrified. Someone shouted, "What was that?" No one had an answer. Then the smell reached them. Jet fuel, burning. Smoke was seeping through the ceiling tiles. The building had been hit by something catastrophic. The realization. A manager named David appeared in the doorway. His face was white. "A plane hit the building," he said. "We need to evacuate, now." A plane? The words didn't make sense. How could a plane hit the building? They were 81 floors up, but there was no time to question it. Smoke was getting thicker. The fire alarms were deafening. People were already moving toward the exits. Michael grabbed his briefcase, then dropped it. Nothing in it mattered. He joined the stream of people heading for the stairwells. The office had about 200 employees on this floor. All of them were trying to leave at once. But there was no panic yet. People were moving quickly, but in an orderly way. They had practiced fire drills. They knew what to do. Michael reached stairwell A. The door was already open. People were filing through. He entered the stairwell and began descending. The stairs were crowded, but moving. Everyone stayed to the right, leaving the left side clear for emergency workers who might be coming up. The descent begins. The stairwell was hot and filling with smoke. Emergency lighting had kicked on, casting everything in dim, eerie illumination. Michael counted floors as he descended. 80, 79, 78. The stairs were concrete, the walls painted cinder block. The sound of hundreds of feet echoing in the narrow space was deafening. People around Michael were quiet at first. Then, conversations started. Questions no one could answer. Someone's cell phone rang. The woman answered it, listened, then her face went pale. "My husband says it was a commercial jet," she said to no one in particular. "American Airlines. It flew right into the building." A commercial jet. The words spread through the crowd in the stairwell. How was that possible? How could a commercial airliner accidentally hit the World Trade Center on a clear day? Michael kept walking, down and down. His legs were already starting to ache. They were on the 75th floor now, still so far to go. The second plane, 9:03 a.m. They had reached the 68th floor when the second impact hit. Michael felt it through the building, a deep, violent shudder, different from the first impact because it wasn't in their tower. It was nearby, very nearby. The South Tower had been hit. In the stairwell, people stopped. For a moment, everyone stood frozen. Then someone spoke the thought they were all having. "This isn't an accident. We're under attack." Fear rippled through the crowd, but still, people kept moving. What else could they do? They had to get down. They had to get out. The stairs continued descending into smoke and darkness, and they had no choice but to follow. Meeting the firefighters. Around the 60th floor, Michael's group in the stairwell encountered firefighters. They were climbing up, moving against the flow of evacuees. They wore full gear, heavy coats, helmets, oxygen tanks on their backs. They carried equipment, axes, hoses, radio equipment. The firefighters looked exhausted already. Sweat poured down their faces. They were breathing hard from the climb, but they kept going up, into the smoke, into the fire, to save whoever they could. One firefighter, young, maybe in his 20s, met Michael's eyes as they passed each other. The firefighter nodded, just a small acknowledgement, one person to another. Michael nodded back. He wanted to say something. "Thank you, be careful, come back down safely." But the words stuck in his throat. The firefighter was already past him, climbing higher. Michael would learn later that many of those firefighters never made it back down. The long descent continues. The descent felt endless. Michael's legs burned. His lungs ached from breathing smoke. Sweat soaked through his shirt, but he kept walking, one step after another, down and down. Around him, people helped each other. When someone stumbled, hands reached out to steady them. When someone slowed down, others encouraged them to keep going. There was kindness in that stairwell alongside the fear. People at their best when circumstances were at their worst. They passed the 40th floor, the 30th. The air was getting thicker with smoke. Some people held handkerchiefs or sleeves over their mouths and noses. Others poured water from bottles onto shirts and used them as makeshift masks. Michael's mind was on Sarah and Emma. Were they watching the news? Did they know he was in the tower? He wanted to call them to tell them he was okay, he was getting out. But his cell phone had no signal. No one's did. The towers were too tall, the walls too thick. Approaching ground level. They reached the 20th floor, the 10th. They were close now. So close. Michael could feel hope rising. They were going to make it. He was going to see Sarah and Emma again. But the stairwell was getting more crowded. The descent was slowing. Too many people trying to exit through too few doors. The crowd bunched up, then moved, then bunched up again. Start and stop. Start and stop. Michael's group reached the ground floor and emerged into the North Tower lobby. The scene there was chaotic. Water poured from broken pipes. Glass and debris covered the floor. Emergency workers were directing people toward exits. "Keep moving, this way, don't stop." Michael followed the flow of people out through a side exit. He emerged onto the plaza between the towers, and then he looked up. The horror above. Both towers were burning. Massive plumes of black smoke poured from the impact zones. Flames were visible through shattered windows. Papers were falling from the sky like snow. Debris rained down constantly, and there were other things falling, things Michael's brain refused to process at first. People, human beings jumping from windows 1,000 feet above the ground rather than burn alive. Michael stood frozen for a moment, staring up at the inferno. At the towers he had worked in for 6 years. At the place he had come to every day. It was dying. Both towers were dying. "Move! Get away from the building!" A police officer was shouting at people, herding them away from the plaza. "Go north. Get as far away as you can." Michael started walking, then running. He ran north on Church Street with thousands of others. Behind him, the towers burned. The collapse. 9:59 a.m. Michael had made it several blocks away when he heard a sound he would never forget. A deep rumbling roar, like thunder but worse, like the earth itself was breaking. He turned around. The south tower was collapsing. The top was tilting, then falling. Then the entire building was coming down. A massive cloud of dust and debris erupted outward, racing down the streets like a living thing. "Run!" someone screamed. Michael ran. Everyone ran. The cloud chased them, faster than they could move. It caught them, engulfed them. The world went dark. Dust choked the air so thick Michael couldn't breathe. He couldn't see, he couldn't hear anything except the roar. He pressed himself against a building wall, covered his face with his arms, and waited. He thought he was going to die. He thought the world was ending. Gradually, the roar subsided. The dust began to settle. Michael opened his eyes. He was covered in gray ash. So was everyone around him. They looked like ghosts, like the dead walking. The street was invisible under inches of debris. Cars were buried, papers and rubble were everywhere. Michael looked south toward where the towers had been. He could see only one. The North Tower was still standing. The South Tower was gone, simply gone. 110-story building had vanished, waiting for the second fall. Michael kept walking north. His mind was numb. His body was operating on autopilot. He had to get home. He had to get to Sarah and Emma. But first, he had to survive. Behind him, the North Tower still burned. Michael had worked in that tower. His desk was on the 81st floor. His computer was probably still on. His coffee mug was probably still on his desk. His photo of Sarah and Emma in the frame beside his monitor. All of it was still up there, in a building that was dying. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower collapsed. Michael was far enough away that the debris cloud didn't reach him this time, but he felt it. He felt the ground shake. He heard the roar, and he watched as the second tower came down. Both towers were gone. The World Trade Center had vanished. The New York skyline had changed forever. The walk home. Michael walked home to Brooklyn. The bridges were closed. The subways weren't running. So he walked. Miles and miles through Manhattan, across the Brooklyn Bridge on foot with thousands of others. No one spoke much. They walked in silence, covered in dust, traumatized. Behind them, a pillar of smoke rose from lower Manhattan. The towers were still burning even though they had fallen. Michael reached his apartment at 2 p.m. Sarah opened the door. She had been watching the television. She knew the towers had fallen. She thought Michael was dead. When she saw him standing there, covered in dust like a ghost, she screamed. Then she grabbed him and held him and sobbed. Emma ran to him. "Daddy, you're dirty." Michael picked up his daughter and held her. Sarah wrapped her arms around both of them. They stood in the doorway like that for a long time. A family reunited. Lucky. So incredibly lucky. The days after. The days after September 11th existed in a fog. Michael showered repeatedly but couldn't get the smell of smoke out of his nose. He tried to eat but had no appetite. He tried to sleep but had nightmares of burning towers and falling people. His company had lost 43 employees, people Michael had worked with, people he had eaten lunch with, people whose desks were on floors above the impact zone who never made it to the stairwells. The funerals began. Michael attended services for co-workers, for the young firefighter he had passed in the stairwell, for people whose bodies were never found. There was nothing to bury for most of them, just memorial services and empty caskets and photos of smiling people who would never come home. The guilt. Michael struggled with guilt. He had survived when so many others hadn't. Why him? What made him special? He had been on the 81st floor. The plane hit between floors 93 and 99. If his meeting had been scheduled earlier, if he had arrived at work earlier, if he had stopped for coffee in the lobby, would he have been trapped above the impact zone? Would he have died? The randomness of it haunted him. Luck and timing had saved him. Nothing more. He hadn't been braver or smarter or more deserving. He had just been lucky. Years later, Michael Chen never returned to work in Manhattan. His company relocated to New Jersey. He worked there for a few years, then changed careers entirely. He became a teacher. He wanted to do something that mattered, something that helped people. Sarah and Michael had another child, a son they named David, after the manager who had told everyone to evacuate that morning. David had died in the collapse, so had most of Michael's co-workers from the 81st floor. Emma grew up barely remembering September 11th. She had been 3 years old. Her only memory of that day was her father coming home covered in dust. But Michael remembered everything, every detail, every moment. The memory was burned into him permanently. Testimony. Michael Chen is 57 years old now. He has told his story many times over the years, to journalists, to documentary filmmakers, to students in classrooms. He feels an obligation to remember, to witness, to make sure people don't forget. When people ask him about September 11th, he tells them about the ordinary Tuesday morning, about the perfect blue sky, about the moment everything changed, about the descent through smoke and darkness, about the firefighters climbing up while everyone else went down, about the towers falling, about walking home through a city that would never be the same. People died because they went to work that day, Michael says. That's all they did wrong. They woke up on a Tuesday morning and went to their jobs, and they never came home. Their families are still living with that loss. We can't forget them. We can't let what happened that day fade into history. The lesson. September 11th, 2001, taught America that safety is an illusion, that ordinary mornings can become catastrophic afternoons, that the world can change in an instant. Nearly 3,000 people died that day. Thousands more were injured. Hundreds of thousands witnessed horrors they will carry forever. Michael Chen survived. He made it down 81 floors of a burning building and lived to tell about it. But survival came with its own burden. The guilt, the nightmares, the knowledge of how easily it could have gone the other way. Closing. This is Michael Chen's story. This is his witness to September 11th, 2001. This is what it meant to be in the North Tower when the plane hit, to descend through smoke and darkness while the building burned above, to emerge into chaos and watch both towers fall, to survive when so many others didn't. 23 years have passed since that perfect blue Tuesday morning. The towers are gone. A memorial stands where they once reached toward the sky. Names are carved in bronze around two reflecting pools. Nearly 3,000 names, nearly 3,000 people who went to work and never came home. Michael Chen visits the memorial every year on September 11th. He stands at the edge of the reflecting pool and reads the names. He remembers the co-workers he lost, the firefighter in the stairwell, the people jumping from windows, the towers falling. He remembers all of it, and he tells his story, because the dead cannot speak, but the survivors can, and the world must never forget what happened on the morning the sky fell.